Learning objectives. After studying this chapter, you should be able to describe the task involved in managing travel arrangement for leisure travel. Organize travel information required to prepare travel arrangements and accomplish a booking card for travel to understand its usage. Plan a trip itinerary using a map, air, and other transportation schedule. Check availability of selected air, sea, land transport, accommodation suppliers, and suitable sightseeing tours or tour packages. Source fares and rates of travel service suppliers. Place manual, electronic, and automated reservations with suppliers of travel services. Read and write an airline e-ticket format. Prepare reservation requests of booking orders, and requests reservation by email. Issue purchase orders, exchange orders, and tour vouchers, and identify, differentiate, and explain the documentation required for international travel. The Travel Operations Department is the core of the travel business. It involves the efficient and effective delivery of the organization's services as partners of the travelers and travel services supplier. The travel management cycle details the different tasks involved in arranging and managing travel, whether for business or leisure. The FFR. Providing travel information and advice. Determining fares, rates and professional fees. Preparing quotations and travel proposals. Requesting reservations and obtaining confirmations. Issuing tickets, tour vouchers, and exchange orders. Providing travel documentation assistance. Processing travel accounts. Evaluating delivery. The first step is to obtain all necessary information from the prospective client and providing suitable recommendations that meets the client's needs, preferences or fancies. This will enable the preparation of a travel arrangement proposal and the checking of availability of the proposed suppliers. Providing travel information and expert advice aims to capture a sales transaction. These transactions are the results of providing proper travel information and expert advice. Effective travel counseling leads to sales. Suggesting itineraries requires knowledge in flight itinerary planning, especially to and from the Philippines where almost all, 98%, of travelers fly in and out. Flight itinerary planning is the process by which cities to be visited are arranged in the desired sequence to conform with the passenger's desired travel plans, starting from the point of origin to the destination or destinations to be visited in the desired sequence. Identify the city pairs involved, origin/destination or where a segment begins and where it ends. A round-trip journey will have two city pairs, such as Manila/Singapore and Singapore/Manila. Once the city pairs are identified, select the suitable flights between the city pairs on the basis of schedule or the estimated time of departure and estimated time of arrival and its frequency or what day of week. In order to accomplish this, a good knowledge of world geography, airline flight geography and how to be oriented by a map are essential. When planning a flight itinerary there are three basic rules to follow. Rule number 1. Avoid crisscrossing the sectors/segments of the itinerary. Rule number 2. Avoid backtracking when determining the city pair. Rule number 3. The lesser number of carriers used in flight selection the more competitive and better airfare. Rule number 1. Avoid crisscrossing the sectors/segments of the itinerary. Literary, in the picture when moving to destinations, it creates lines or crisscross lines. This is to save time in traveling, and save cost for the fuel. A better itinerary can be arranged in a circle movement. Like for example in the picture, crisscrossing R, Manila to Bangkok to Hong Kong to Singapore, and lastly, Manila, which is very complicated itinerary. The appropriate itinerary should be, from Manila going to Hong Kong, then Bangkok going to Singapore and return to Manila, or vice versa. Rule number 2. Avoid backtracking when determining the city pair. Backtracking is from Manila to New Delhi to Bangkok going to Colombo and back to Manila. Where it should be, origin is Manila going to Bangkok to New Delhi, then Colombo and return flight to Manila, or vice versa. Rule number 3. The lesser number of carriers used in flight selection, the more competitive and better airfare. This also applies to saving time and money. We want to visit places which transportation is very convenient. For example, from USJR going to airport. Because you think riding jeepney will cost you cheaply than riding a taxi, so from USJR 10G to SM01K to Park Mall and soon to save more, and lastly, a multi-cab to the airport. So you have done many stops, changing transportation with your luggage and the time spent for traffic. Where you can ride a taxi from USJR directly to the airport. Or from USJR to SM Cebu and ride a My Bus directly to airport. The basic tools for flight itinerary planning are the official airline guide, OAG, flight planner, the 3 basic rules. City pair availability in the global distribution system or use of Amadeus system. The flight schedules in the travel portals and airline websites such as official websites of Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific, AirAsia, and others. Determining fares, rates and professional fees, putting together the costs of transportation, accommodations, sightseeing tours, and tour packages, cruises or other service included in the itinerary is the next step. Part of this step is to determine the appropriate markup, service charge, or professional fee and seeking the client's acceptance of the proposed travel arrangements. Preparing quotations and travel proposals. This step aims to get the client's consent on the travel quotation or proposal and agreement to reserve and purchase the travel services based on the price proposed or amount indicated. Reservations are advanced requests for available space and services at some time in the future. A confirmation is a written advice by a supplier that a reservation has been accepted and will be honored, thus the term confirmed reservations. These are 3 basic ways of placing reservations. Manual reservations, direct contact with the supplier's staff by mobile or regular phone. Electronic reservations, through the supplier's email address or interactive website that receives reservations, provides request status and generates confirmations, and automated reservations, through an intermediary global distribution system wherein the registered supplier provides availability and accepts reservations. The information required to place reservations with each suppliers varies, but basically it is the same. Issuing tickets, tour vouchers, and exchange orders. Once all arrangements are confirmed, preparing and issuing transportation tickets, exchange orders, and tour vouchers for the suppliers is the next step. Providing travel documentation assistance, on a case-to-case basis, provide assistance in the preparation, filling and acquisition of all necessary documents for travel and the necessary supporting documents thereof. A TMC provides advice and assistance in applying and legally obtaining government-related travel documentations necessary for travel. The travel documentation advice and assistance provided by a TMC is the primary responsibility of the liaison or documentation officer.
The UNWTO defines, tourism comprises the activities of persons traveling to and staying in places outside their usual environment for not more than 1 consecutive year for leisure, business, and other purposes. The person in this definition referred to as a visitor and can be classified as excursionist or same-day visitor or day tripper is a person who stays at the destination for less than a day or more than 24 hours. Tourist stays at the destination for at least 24 hours or overnight, but a year. Tourists engaged in international tourism are residents visiting places outside their home country. This type of travel requires documents such as a passport and a visa before leaving the country and permitted entry into the foreign country. Passport is a major requirement in traveling outside one's country. It is an official and legal document issued by the government to its citizens. There are different types of passports in the Philippines issued by the Department of Foreign Affairs. One regular passport issued to Filipinos traveling internationally. 2 diplomatic passports are provided to diplomatic officials of the country, and 3 official passport issued for official business to the employees of the Philippine government. In securing a Philippine passport, one is required to 1. Appear personally at the Department of Foreign Affairs or any of their satellite offices. You cannot just visit their office anytime you want. 2. Have a confirmed appointment made before the appearance to the department. You can set an appointment through their website, http://www.dfa.gov.ph. 3. Accomplish a printed application form that can be downloaded from the DFA appointment system. Necessary documents required include a birth certificate issued by the Philippine Statistics Office, valid ID pictures, and other supporting documents to prove your identity. Documents needed in traveling abroad are not limited to passports. Entry in other countries needs an endorsement issued by the consular office of the country to be visited, which allows the bearer an entry otherwise known as a visa. Visa requirements vary per country, and not all nations require a visa from their visitors. What is a Philippine visa? A Philippine visa is an endorsement made on a travel document by a consular officer at a Philippine embassy or consulate abroad denoting that the visa application has been properly examined and that the bearer is permitted to proceed to the Philippines and request permission from the Philippine immigration authorities at the ports of entries to enter the country. The visa thus issued is not a guarantee that the holder will be automatically admitted into the country, because the admission of foreign nationals into the Philippines is a function of the immigration authorities at the port of entry. Definition of a foreign tourist, temporary visitor. A foreign tourist is defined as a person without distinction as to race, gender, language or religion, who is proceeding to the Philippines for a legitimate, non-immigrant purpose such as sightseeing, sports, health, family reasons, training, or study, excluding enrollment in schools for the purpose of obtaining a title or degree, religious pilgrimage, business, cultural and scientific purposes. For a complete and visa guidelines and requirement you may visit the official DFA website dfa.gov.ph. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, kindly message our messenger GC.
It is the responsibility of liaison or documentation officer to provide advice and assistance for securing these documents, which also includes support documentation such as birth certificates and the authentication of these. The duties and responsibilities of the liaison or documentation officer include the following. Check the authenticity of relevant support papers and all public documents submitted. Provide advice when filling out online applications. Determine what visas and other documents are required for travel. Ensures that the documents filed are released on time, and Oversee the schedule of personal appearances and appointments with the pertinent consulates and government offices. Processing travel accounts. This step involves the collection of final payments due from clients and payment due to suppliers. Evaluating delivery. The last step is the assessment of the client's satisfaction in the travel arrangements. This is usually a post-trip activity.